Howdy folks, Nathan Adlin here in sunny West Virginia for an everything you wanted to know, or almost everything you wanted to know, on the brand new Ford F-350. Now, in the interview you're about to see, Roman interviews David Ives, who's an expert with diesels for Ford. He gets one thing wrong. This is actually a 350, not a 450.
All right, now we've got a big diesel right in front of you. Tell me about it. Tell me, this is the new 2015 450, but you're missing a top, huh?
Yeah, so this is our cutaway chassis, so we can illustrate all the components of the what gets you up the hill and down the hill when you're running around at up to 40,000 pounds gross combined vehicle weight. This is our F-450, the biggest chassis cert product that we make. Let's just start out with the engine. We've got a 2015 upgraded 6.7 liter Power Stroke engine, which features a new turbocharger for 15. It's bigger, more powerful, allows for 10% more power, 440 horsepower and 860 foot-pounds of torque. And even more importantly, it improves our altitude performance. That's about a 10% power increase that you just heard there, going from 440 to, or from 400 to 440. Our altitude performance actually goes up by about 25 to 30% because of this bigger machine. We also have incorporated new fuel injectors. I don't know if we walk around here to the other side, they might have a cutaway on the injector that you can see. Now this is a full cab, so you can't really see down into the injectors, but we have new fuel injectors that extend the rich limit of the engine that allow us to take full advantage of this new turbocharger. Here you see the same charge air cooler system that we had before, and you can see the really rather impressive cooling system that we have on these trucks to allow them to run and maintain this maximum power going up grades with 40,000 pounds on it.
Walk me through the four radiators.
All right, okay. So first what we have here is power steering.
Yep.
Next we have the AC condenser. Next we have the low temperature loop radiator. This low temperature loop radiator is responsible for cooling the charge air, the transmission, and the fuel. All right, next we have the main radiator, or what we call the high temperature radiator, which is responsible for cooling the engine coolant and the oil and keeping the truck running up the hill at maximum power. So you got a stack of 4 heat exchangers right in front of the truck.
How do you get air back to the last one when it has to go through 3 other ones? Is that a problem?
Not really, because the size of this one's big enough that it gets a little bit of first air here on the top around this rad support, and these other heat exchangers reject a small enough amount of heat that this high temperature radiator can still maintain coolant temperatures less than 110 degrees C.
Now, when you talk about the turbo, you've got a new engine braking setup, right?
Yes.
Do the valves actually, the vanes in the turbo open and close?
Yes, they do.
Tell me how that works.
Yeah, so let's go back here, look at this a little bit closer. So the vanes on this turbocharger are back here in the turbine casing, and this is really the third pillar of why we did the 2015 truck, all right? First one was more advertisable torque and horsepower. Second was more altitude performance that we talked about earlier. And the third one, when you're going down the hill, is to have improved controllability and confidence in the vehicle going down steep grades. So what happens is, as the driver pushes the engine brake button to maintain a speed of, say, 50, 55 mile an hour going down steep grades, the vanes on this turbocharger will close down, which restricts the airflow coming out of the exhaust ports, going through the turbocharger and on down through the exhaust system, will build up substantially more pressure, which causes the engine to act as a brake, which will, through this drive line, hold the tires back so that the load is more firmly controlled without having to ride the foundation brakes. So when you get down to the bottom of the hill, you have maybe touched the brakes 1 or 2 times instead of maybe a dozen times, giving the drivers much more comfort and confidence with the capability of this new truck.
Now, is that a new transmission or is that a carryover unit?
This is a slightly modified unit for 2015.
How many
that's
years?
How
many speeds?
6-speed still.
6-speed, yeah.
But the transmission has been upgraded to handle the extra 60 foot-pounds of torque and the extra 10 horsepower, or extra 40 horsepower.
All right, and talk to me about the chassis. Have you done anything to that?
For this 450, it has been upgraded to handle the extra payload capability, getting up to as much as 40,000 pounds capability. So you've got improved rear leaf springs.
Walk over there, show me, yeah.
All right, yeah. So here's the leaf spring kit back here. It's pretty standard as far as what you've seen on a 450 before, but it's just more capable. It's capable of handling much more payload, and we now have this. You can get this built in right at the factory, and order it up on your truck to have this integrated fifth wheel assembly built right into the bed of your truck.
Yeah, it's a mini gooseneck. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you'll be driving some of these today when you're out on the drive.
Yeah, there they go right now.
Yeah, there goes the first one right there. It's one of our new trucks right there with a Montana motorhome on it.
That's only 12,000
You see these all over
pounds.
Yosemite. Yeah, that's only 12,000 pounds, right?
That's not much.
Yep.
That's not much for this guy.
Yep.
Now you got, of course, urea right here.
Yeah, you got urea dosing right here next to the diesel fuel system, so all your fueling is right there, capable and convenient. And this diesel fuel system, urea system, typically you have to dose that about once every 7,500 miles.
All right, and how much power are you actually losing because of the emissions that I see right here? Right, this is all the emissions.
Yeah, this is your diesel after treatment system.
Yeah.
You have 3 basic components here. You have a after treatment warm-up catalyst for reducing hydrocarbon.
Right.
There's an SCR catalyst along and about this section here. Here's the dosing mechanism for it right here that comes from this urea tank back here. And then lastly, you have a diesel soot filter that's there to eliminate the black smoke that you see coming out of some of these other buses around in the parking lot.
No
you
more
won't see
rolling
that
coal,
from
man.
many.
No more rolling coal.
No more rolling coal, yeah. Yeah, now,
I hate that.
your original question was, well, what's that cost us in terms of fuel consumption? Generally, there is a small penalty for having all this equipment on here in terms of fuel consumption. That's less than a couple percent, and we've overcome that via improvements in the combustion system and a fuel system and a turbocharger system, such that actually back on our 2010 program, we actually improved fuel consumption for the customer as much as 20% in most drive cycles. And we've carried that over for the 2015 program, same fuel consumption with 10% more power and 60 foot-pounds more torque, 30% more altitude performance.
Nathan, check this out. It's a King Ranch.
That's right. And we're going to be driving a lot of these vehicles, so stay tuned for that. For the Fast Lane Truck, this is Nathan Nadlin. See you next time.
Nathan, we have a big boy truck behind us.
That's right. Ford flew us out to West Virginia to test drive their brand new Ford F-250 Super Duty.
We've got the 2015 with the 6.7 Power Stroke, and we're going to review it coming up next
On the Fast Lane Truck.